Hey guys, Dan Kai here, Coach of Wise Ocean Pods, and welcome back to another episode of our round review series. On today's episode, we will be reviewing round 16, where we saw the first of the the mid-season buys, the best 22s, and we saw some weird and wacky scores. We had some big primos that failed to score quite large, and that resulted in some teams struggling a little bit, but we still saw some pretty big scores. But let's sort of get into it. So, quickly go through what my team scored this week. So, I scored a 22-32, so probably about par, I would say. Round rank of 7,365. Jumped me up about 1,500 spots, roughly. So, happy with that, especially with how my team's sort of looking. Obviously, had the two rookies this week, which definitely isn't ideal, but yeah, luckily were able to put up some decent scores, and obviously with a few other primo scores not going large, it kind of helped my team not struggle as much, but yeah, happy with that. Quickly rolling through some special mentions here, I guess. I'll just quickly go through +3, -3. Go +3 to Sammy Walsh. I think that was a pretty big score from him. Probably could have gone to Caldwell, but I think for what I brought in Sammy Walsh for is sort of what I was expecting, and he delivered. Unfortunately, I didn't really stick with him going as my captain because I took Zorko at that 118. Yeah, I'm not walking away from 118 anytime soon, but probably could have. Seeing where my city season's at, I probably could have just taken it on a little bit more. What am I playing for at the end of the day? Just a bit of fun, and yeah, but yeah, I was happy to take that 118. -3, where do I go? Probably has to go to Hayden Young, doesn't it? 37 from someone who's been so good all season. I get it was a tough matchup, but 37 is just ridiculous and definitely something we need to consider worth trading him out, possibly. He does have a nice matchup this week, though, so we'll probably get into that a little bit later, but yeah, he was definitely very disappointing there. Quickly going through some scores here. So Luke Ryan bounced back a little bit, 97. Probably wasn't great, but a tougher matchup. I'll take that. He does have a nice stretch of form coming up in terms of defender matchups, so I'm hoping he can have a few big games and keep his price stagnant a little bit because he does have a huge break even still. So not looking to jump off there. I know if you did, and that probably worked out in the favour to an extent, depending on who you went. But yeah, you'd be you wouldn't. It didn't hurt you, I guess, in the sense that Luke Ryan only went 97. Jordan Clark did cop that James Jordan tag and managed an 87, so not too bad there. Would have expected a bit worse, although that tag did switch over to Sarong a little bit later on, so probably just mention him now. He was on track for a pretty big score. I think it was on like 98. A 68 at halftime, and then he got the tag, and yeah, only managed to get to the 96. So that's a little bit disappointing. He has been pretty shocking since I brought him in 3 weeks ago. Not what I've sort of wanted when I paid up for him, which is pretty disappointing. But that's just fantasy this year, unfortunately. Dacos scored really well. Would have been happy with him as a captain as well. Nick Martin, again, probably a little bit unders for what you would have wanted. 79, just not good enough. Roll looked fine, just didn't really get amongst it. Not many marks, two marks. So yeah, just didn't allow him to get anything there, which is unusual. That's his lowest marking tally all season. So probably not too much I'm concerned about. Just yeah, one of those games. Lockie Whitfield, biggest score of the round, 160. Did we expect that? I absolutely didn't. That was incredible, honestly. He just marked everything. What's that? 41 disposals? That is ridiculous. 12 marks, four tackles, couple free kicks, 4. Did he sneak forward for a goal? No, he didn't. So, but yeah, I doubt anyone would have had that as captain. If he did, then bloody congratulations. That is a very unique one, but his last month of footy has been unreal, and I can see why people are probably thinking of jumping back on. But there is a big flag coming up this week with Chincotta most likely going to go to him. So just something to consider if you're looking at trading him. But the funniest thing with him is that he was my D6 coming into this round. Now he's my D1 with the whole price tag changing. So he's gone up 60k, and yeah, he's just jumped a lot, gone above Luke Ryan as well. So I thought that was a little funny stat there. Rookies did okay in terms of the bench. Pinky was pretty poor again, but who cares? He's Pink. He does what he wants. He's not going anywhere on my side anytime soon. Showmaker put up a 52. Would have been happy with that on field, I guess, but luckily he didn't have to. He's still generating some cash, so that's nice. I don't think he looked the greatest in terms of the way he played. He looked a bit slow at times, so maybe a bit of concern in terms of his job security. Maybe they look to change it up, but hopefully he can stay in there with a -6 break even. Moving on to the midfield, Bontempelli went really well after having some concerns with those back spasms. It's pretty much a guaranteed at this point if Bont has like an injury cloud or sickness cloud coming into a game. You just put the C on him because he's going to go big. So what did he do? He put 35 disposals, 6 marks, 4 tackles. That's ridiculous. Yeah, and kicked 3 behinds. So it could have been a massive day. Could have been an absolute massive day. So anyone that was brave enough to do it would have been very much rewarded there. We already spoke about Sam Walsh. Zach Merritt, 89. A little bit disappointing. I think he was actually on target for quite a big one, but then just, again, second half just went pretty slowed up. I think he only had maybe a couple of touches here and there, so not really sure what happened there. I don't think he copped too much attention. I think it was more just a run with roll with Atkins. Wasn't anything too, vicious as such. So that one didn't really pay off for anyone that traded him in. Butters fought through a tough tag with Woodhagen and scored up a 92, which I was happy with. It did eventually go... The tag of it did actually go to Butters in the end. I know there was a few thinking it might have gone to a Rosie, but yeah, it was stuck with Butters all day. So I was happy to see him fight through that. Tom Green, 106 for 38 touches, which is a bit ridiculous. 0 marks, 5 tackles. He loves getting the ball, but just doesn't know how to do much else, unfortunately. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But he looks back in form, hunting for the ball, so that is the main thing, and he's going up in cash, so he's still a great trade-in target if you don't have him. A couple more rookies here. So I did manage to pick up Lawson Humphreys there, put up into 69, so that was a good trade-in for me. It's always nice when you trade in the number 1 rookie target the following week, so gets me ahead of the ball, I guess, but also the sense that I now don't really have much of a rookie target. But yeah, he played really well. Obviously put up a great score, -5 break even, got Hawthorn this week, so yeah, I think he's a great trade-in target if you don't have him. I ended up taking Joel Frazier's 70, which was nice. I sort of looped with Phil Strupp. He's put up a 50. I was like, I think I can get more than that, so I went with Frazier in the midfield as a loop, and yeah, eventually took that. And I had to run the gauntlet with Dowling, and he luckily came through in that last quarter with a big 32-point quarter. So yeah, he saved that score quite late, which was nice. Rucks again were pretty poor. Gone. The reason why I didn't put him in my top 5 captains because he was against hard matchup, and that proved to be true. So even though he had 41 hitouts, he just couldn't get the hands of the ball. 9 touches, just very unusual for Max. But I think he's in for a massive game this week. He'd be pretty hard to pass up against the Eagles. I think he's going to enjoy a massive one there. So that's going to be pretty popular. Flanders. A lot of role changes this week is something that we probably need to speak about when we go through the scores, but he was one that definitely had a big role change. Not a flag at all. He's moved into the midfield a lot more. He was a number 1 CEBA taker for the Suns, and he still scored quite well. Definitely could have been a lot bigger. I think he was on 101 or something like that for the last 10 minutes of the game. Could have been a lot more, but I think he rode the pine a little bit and didn't get anywhere near the ball, unfortunately. But yeah. He's now a midfielder. Didn't take any kickouts, so his role's definitely changed. But I don't think it's too much of a concern. Yeah, he can just score wherever. And Dim has even come out and said they wish they had 3 of them because they would play him in each position, forward, back, and midfield. So that's good signs that he's not going anywhere in terms of best 22, but he can also score anywhere. So I don't mind that in terms of his role. We saw Zorko will go 118. Obviously, that was a really good matchup against Melbourne. Really happy with that. Not much else to say there, really. Heaney copped a bit of a tag from Fife, which is a surprise one. We didn't really flag that one. I wouldn't have thought a 2-time Brownlow medalist would have been reduced to tagging, but that's the weird fantasy game that we have at the moment, where some huge players are just getting tagged, and the tag is well and truly in fashion, where we're seeing a lot of unusual players become a tag, like become the tagger. So unusual for him, but he sort of still put a 79. I don't think that's too much of a concern. I guess in terms of he's got Windhager this week, does that go to Heaney instantly? Possibly. It'd be a difficult one to say. I don't think Windhager could go with a Goulden, so I'd say it'd have to go to a what's his name? A Heaney, and then he's got even Liam Shields and Phillips next week after that, then a Berry. So there are a few worrying signs to come. It would take a very brave coach to jump off, though. He is definitely probably easily top 3 in terms of the forward line, so I don't think it's worth jumping off there. Even a 79 is better than most of the forward line options we have. Fisher was unfortunately subbed out tactically, apparently. It switched around from being subbed injured, but then it was tactical, then I think it was back to injured. So, but apparently all that happened is that he copped a bit of a lower leg knock, and they just subbed him out to get Stevens in the game. I don't really know why they would have done it. He was absolutely killing it. He had 22 touches, and he was going at like 80% efficiency. So it was a very weird decision from Clarko there, but I don't think it's too much of a concern. I'd say he's good to play this week, but yeah, it's definitely probably a little bit of a flag in terms of if they're going to continue to sub him. There's still disbelief on how they can manage to call that. But he was on for a monster, 43% time on ground for 67. That was easily looking like a ton, so no concerns there with his role. Jai Caldwell, I eventually ended up trading in Caldwell over a Rosie. It was sort of like a last minute decision that I just thought in my back of my mind that Rosie was the possibility that he got tagged was there, and at the end of the day I could pick up Rosie this week, which is my plan, just given the different price range, whereas a Caldwell already had the low break even, was going to go up quite quickly, so I just jumped on him. And yeah, luckily he repaid the faith with 144. I know he's not super unique anymore. He's 14%, so it's not like I'm the only one that had him, but yeah, he definitely played a really big game, and yeah, was really happy to trade him in. So trades ultimately went pretty well. I traded at Power, who did go up at 74, but again, the role wasn't there, so I'm not too fussed with him being gone. And then I traded at Harvey Thomas, who put up a 37, so it was perfect time to trade him out, even though he went at 5k. I'm not too fussed with that. That is different to what my trades were in my preview video last week. I did sort of chop and change. It originally was Fraser and Thomas was staying, but then I sort of changed it around, just thinking the matchups were better. Didn't really need the extra coin because I banked a little bit of coin this week to go to one of the trades this week, because with my original trades, I wasn't going to have enough money to do what I wanted next week. I've talked way too much long about my team, so I think we'll just skip past the rest. Evans was alright, and Sexton, no concerns there. So I think that will sort of do it for my team. 15 minutes talking about team, Jesus. Alright, let's move on to the games. We've got 9 games to go through, so I'm going to try and do this quick. I always say this every week, but I always struggle. Alright, we had Brisbane Lions beat Melbourne in a late comeback. It looked pretty dire for them, goddamn. Yeah, but they got their home there with a win. Dunkley with the 32 disposals, 12 marks and 10 tackles, the quadruple double. Haven't seen that in a while, and he was actually the last person to do it, I think, a couple of years back. Before that was Amon, so that just shows you his fantasy game. He is massive, and yeah, there was actually a period of time last week that Dunkley spent in my side, trading at Power. I nearly grabbed him, but at the end of the day, I needed the extra coin this week to be able to make some trades, dump off some rookies, so I went the cheaper option in Caldwell, which I'm happy at the end of the day. Caldwell was a lot cheaper in terms of getting a 144 compared to a 158, but I think Dunkley's still a massive trade target. He still has a pretty decent run coming up. I probably should even pull that up here. I didn't really prepare this really well, but that's alright. There you go, midside mids. There was no issue with his role. He was still, I think, number 1 CBA taker in his team. He's got Adelaide this week, and then he's got West Coast next week before having the Sydney Swans, and then goes on a couple of easier one, a couple of neutral ones. So I still don't mind him there. I still think what's his name? Ashcroft actually helps him in terms of his role. It allows him to play a little bit more outside and get those marks. And why am I? Sorry, I don't know why that was blurry there. Yeah, I still think he's a great option. He's still very cheap as well. What's he down at? Let's just go to this week. Dunkley is 924k, so I still think he's a great target. Below break even. Got Crows this week, so that could be a very decent matchup. So I don't mind that there. Zorko, we've spoken enough about him. If you don't have him, you need to jump on him at some stage. Lockie Neal put up a nice 100 for those that still had him. He took a lot more marks. Didn't get any tackles though, which is very, very unusual. Didn't cop much attention that I thought I saw. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't think he copped too much attention. And Neil Bullen might have stood next to him, but I don't think it was anything too major. Reveal put up a nice 77 for anyone that was still fielding him. That was nice after a bit of concern that he might have been the sub. And Loman put up a 62, so his probably time is up. So if you can trade him, that would be ideal because his price is done. So probably last week I mentioned him. Moving on to Melbourne, Oliver bounced back with a big 109. And before anyone asks, no, we're not considering it. We're not doing that to ourselves again. I get he looked good, but he can cop attention any day of the week, and he didn't cop attention in this game like we sort of first expected. We thought a Barry would go with him, but they just let him do what he wanted. So, no, I'm not looking at going back to him, that's for sure. Scrolling down the list here, we had Max Gorman with a 77. Like I said, pretty disappointing, but it was a tough matchup, so I'm not too concerned with that. Rivers, who was a pretty popular target last week, only put up the 62, so that's a little bit disappointing. The role was still there, put up 22 disposals, like it was pretty decent, just minimal tackles and marks for what you would have sort of expected. So a little bit disappointing there for anyone that traded him in. I still don't mind him as a trading because he still is a bit cheaper, but definitely would like more results, that's for sure. And then Thelstrup as a rookie there, put up a nice 50 and make some money. Wickfield is another one that a lot of people traded in, being the 200k rookie. He put up a nice 57 and is a nice rookie target as well. I think he's my number 2 on my list so far. Alright, that will do it for that game. We'll move on to the next one. Try and just get through this as quick as possible. I have reduced the amount of people I talk about, so should be okay. Cherry just continues to get it done, man. 129. If you have him, do not trade him out. Do not get into this moving the rucks. It destroys your season. Trust me from first hand. Just don't do it. Especially if you're up top there. I get he has a hard matchup, but he just does not care. He just tackles and marks and gets plenty of disposals at his will. I've spoken plenty enough about him, but he's been a huge miss for me all season, and it's destroyed my season, but that's okay. Harry Sheezel with a 91. He's the lowest score in a little while, but again, probably doesn't hurt you. He's so popular anyway, so not too much to concern there. He did go back late in that game when what's his name? Fisher did go out being the sub, so that allowed him to free up a little bit. So yeah, probably a bit of a watch with what happens with Fisher this week. If he doesn't play, does that mean Sheezel goes back? Because if you look at those CBAs, Harry Sheezel still is not playing much for midfield time at all, like 25%, which is very, very poor. Down the list again, LDU put up a shit 67, so I've removed him off the watch list. I'm not considering it at all. Fisher, we spoke about already. Simpkin put up a 64. He had the most CBAs of the team at 92%, so definitely the role was there for him. It was just the results didn't really go his way. What do you have? 4 free kicks against, so what's that already? 12 points unders, so that's 76. Plus, if that was some tackles and stuff, it could have been a lot bigger. So I still don't mind a punt on him in terms of being your F6. Yeah, F6. If you're looking there, it's just tough. It's tough. They do have a good run up coming as well, so I don't mind taking the punt on him. It's probably one to not really take into too much consideration. Just look at the role and think that he's going to put up some pretty big scores eventually. Besides that, there's no one really else there to talk about. In this game, we did see that Will Phillips did go to, what's his name, Trelaw, as we sort of flagged last week. I didn't think he was going to be able to go with Bont, so it was just a pretty easy option to go with Trelaw. Trelaw had been killing it, but they look like they sent Trelaw a little bit forward. He kicked 2 goals, 1, so it recovered his score a little bit. An 84 isn't too bad when you're getting tagged, so we take that. We already spoke about Bontempelli kicking the 35 disposals and could have kicked 3 goals, but missed, unfortunately, so no issue with him. I'm sure we'll probably hear something about his back or his ill or something like this week, and he's worth considering. Tim English, it's just been poor. He doesn't look like he's scoring outside of around the ground much at all. Only 14 disposals. It's just not what we sort of expect from him, but I'm sort of stuck with him at this point in time. I'm not really at that luxury season just yet. I've sort of a few rookies I want to get off, so he's stuck in my side. Hopefully he is going to be a bit better. He's got Port Adelaide this week, so hopefully that is a decent matchup for him. Trelaw, I still don't mind the trade-in, but he is going backwards in terms of price now. He's breaking into 129. Port Adelaide this week, so one I'd probably still wait on again. Maybe wait until that Cats game where he's probably bottomed out in price. Colton are pretty tough as well at some stages, so something to consider there if you're looking to trade him in. Besides that, we had Fraser that was still put up a 70 and made some nice coins, so that is enough of that, I think. Anyone that still had Jack McRae put up a 64. He needs to go, man. He is done and dusted. Moving on to the next game. Getting to his nice quick, which is nice. So we saw the massive upset of the round with Fremantle beating the Sydney Swans by 1 point. They managed to hold on there. So we saw Grundy put up an 84, which is really disappointing because I thought he was going to go pretty big in this game because they were actually quite easy matchups. They had shown that in the past couple of weeks. But only managed a 13 disposals, 1 mark, and 6 tackles, and didn't manage too many hits either. So pretty disappointing there for owners. Errol Goulden saved his score very late. I think he was on like 26 points at the half, and he managed, a 60-point second half or something like that. So he definitely saved that late for owners there, especially if you had him captain. I know a lot of people were considering that, going from a Gawn to a Goulden, and both of those were very poor scores. So hopefully none of the top sort of 100 did that, or could have cost you your season. And we already spoke about Heaney there, but there's no really else to talk about in terms of the Sydney Swans, I wouldn't have thought. Taylor Adams is something one to consider. He's going pretty well in his last sort of month or so, if we want to bring that up. But he's getting pretty up there now. He's consistently scored over 80, so he's probably averaging about 85 to 90 in his last month. So something to consider. In terms of his role, it's still the exact same when I checked last. He's still playing a lot half forward and none of that pure midfield time that we sort of came to expect at the start of the season. It's actually even dropped to even further. He was at the sort of 20-30%, and now it's dropped down to below 20%. So I personally couldn't do it, not with his body, and yeah, I get he's a nice price, but I still think there's some better options. I definitely probably prefer a Simkin over him at that price. Moving on to Fremantle, we saw Sharp return to some form with a 98, so no one cracked a ton in this game, which is a little bit disappointing. Very low fantasy scoring overall, with only one player going over 100, who was Blakey, who scored 121. We already spoke about Luke Ryan with that 97. He looked back in form, sort of what I expected with the Clark tag. It sort of made them go the long way around and go back to Luke Ryan a lot more. It also helped that there was a lot of kick-ins in this game. If we look at the kick-in tally here, I would say he would have had a massive tally. Yeah, 7. They both had 7, which is ridiculous. You don't see those numbers very often, so that helps their score very much. For both of Clark and Ryan. Sarong, as we spoke about before, he was on target for a pretty big one, but then just got clamped in the second half. And yeah, pretty disappointing there. Kick a goal, which was nice. Nice tackle, just couldn't get his hands on the ball after half time with that James Jordan tag. Brayshaw returned back to his former self, 80 points. Yeah, he's just very up and down, become a bit of a yo-yo. I don't know if I could trust myself trading him in. unfortunately. And the talk of the town, I guess, for this game was that Hayden Young scored the 37. While the role looked okay in terms of CBAs and stuff, he just looked like he played a lot more forward. He just did not seem to go anywhere near the ball half the time. So looking at his CBAs, 52%. So not too much of a concern there. Like, it has dropped a little bit in the last fortnight, but I don't think that's too much to worry about. But yeah, it's a little bit disappointing that he's going forward rather than halfback when he's not in the CBA. So he's definitely one if you're top 100 or you're pushing for that sort of range that you could probably jump off of, because he is so popular anyway. And when you look at his scores in terms of what he's done, he's only gone sort of big twice with 129 and 125. Besides that, it's all been relatively close to 100s, just scraping there realistically. So I don't mind trading him out. It is probably going against the grain with 3 great matchups in terms of midfield usage. If we just have a quick look at that as well, midfield, he's got Richmond this week, Hawthorn the week after, then to Melbourne and what's called, yeah, just want to double check that, Melbourne and West Coast. So it's probably one I'm not looking to jump off of, but if you're fighting for that hat and you want to be a little bit different, then absolutely you can probably jump to a Newman, or you can even go to a Duggan to be really unique. So some of the moves that I'd make in there for sure. So but yeah, if your team's like mine, I have no issue with holding him here. And he had the 17 disposals, just 1 mark and 0 tackles, which is unreal for a player of his ferociousness. So yeah, unusual there. Moving on to the next game, we have the Suns, who beat Collingwood in a bit of an upset there. I definitely wouldn't have picked that one. But a few of my boys in Flanders did 104. We already spoke about his role change. Not too much to worry about, but something just definitely to monitor. We saw Noah Anderson pop up for his massive game that he's been brewing for the last couple of weeks. I still don't think it's worth jumping on him. He is way too inconsistent, unfortunately. Until he's got consistency in his game, I just couldn't do it. Like you see, he went 76 last week, back to 140. Couple 100s, 67, 69. Couple 60s in there, and that's just him. I don't know what it is, but he just doesn't seem to have that consistency. He's still very young, so he still could yet become a very relevant fantasy player for us in terms of being a primo, but I just don't think he's quite there just yet. But takes a brave coach to do that. I probably wouldn't be jumping on this week, though, because he did have a 69 against the North last week, and there could be a possibly attack coming for him. And then we also had Sexton, who kept his halfback role, so no real concerns there. He was one I was very heavily watching, because I was like, he could definitely be one on the chopping block this week, but he managed to hold on with Flanders moving out of there a little bit. It sort of freed him up a little bit, and he still took 4 kick-ins, so he's still sort of the number 1 kick-in taker there, so no real concerns. I still think he is a viable option as your F6, but don't get too comfortable. Could definitely be dropped at any point in the season, so be careful there, but I'm looking at holding. Moving on, I think that was all we need to talk about in terms of this game. I guess Yulin's there at 70, 71. If you still had him, I would definitely have held that. But that's probably about it. Yep. On to the Collingwood. We had Dacos top score with 115. He's just a good fantasy player, isn't he? 2 goals, 32 disposals, 4 marks, 3 tackles, a couple of free kicks for and a couple of free kicks against. So it was all around just a really good player at this point in time. Crispy, with a few other inclusions, did drop his impact a little bit. He didn't get many marks, or got 0 marks, which is very unusual. Wouldn't have sort of expected that from him. Sort of saved his score with 9 tackles, only had the 17 disposals. So, bit of a flag there in terms of, his fantasy output, but the role still looked like it was there. If we look at his CBAs, he was still highly in there in terms of 74%. So, De Goey sort of took the hit there, only being in there 40%. Maybe that's a bit of management, so maybe something to be concerned about. But I'd be very surprised if they move Cripps out. What does his run look like? He goes Essendon this week, then he's got Geelong, Hawthorn, Richmond. So it actually is a pretty good run. So probably worth just holding there and seeing how it develops. If he has a stinker, then he can jump off at any point. Yeah, you definitely don't want him in the halfback role because he just does not know how to score there, unfortunately. But something to just monitor. Besides that, no one else really super fantasy relevant. Anyone that still may have a Kruger's doing okay. I'm surprised he's still on the side, honestly. I wouldn't have thought he'd last this long. Harrison, he's still making a bit of money, but probably can moved off this week if you want to. And besides that, if anyone jumped on Joe Richards, he was surprisingly the sub. I wouldn't have expected that because he was playing really well prior to his injury. But I guess that's what happens when you come back from injury. You get managed a little bit. So, yeah. Ruins his cash generation for sure. Just going to take a quick drink here, guys. Alrighty. Starting to lose my voice already. That's not good signs. Alright, so Adelaide versus GWS. Adelaide got the sneaky win over that one. Again, another upset that I did not expect. We saw Rankin go pretty big with a 116. His role is getting more and more CBAs. So, again, probably another one you could throw in at F6 and be comfortable with for the remainder of the season. Where is his role? 43%, so it is slowly, being around that 50%. So, you definitely can score there. I like to have him in there, so something to consider. I probably can do it. Not his price range. I think he's about 700k or nearly 800k now. Yeah, he's very expensive, so I'd probably just take the risk more on a Simpkin, who's, again, more in the CBAs, or, yeah, it's someone even cheaper than that, so probably not for me. Dawson did cop the tag from, who was it, Bedford, which is a bit, probably what we sort of expected. It could have gone to him or Laird, but it obviously went to Dawson. Did get released in the second half, and Dawson absolutely just tore it to shred and saved his score, so if anyone that had him, you'd be counting your blessings that he is just a very good fantasy player to get to 106 after a heavy tag. Laird went back into the CBAs, which is a bit unusual. I thought that halfback role was sort of going to be his, but now he's just jumped straight back into the CBAs again, and he was the number one CBA taker. So who knows? Maybe that was just due to the Dawson tag, just allowing more CBAs. It's something that we still need to watch, but if you jumped on, I think you're just holding on now for the remainder of the season. I don't mind their run, I thought. Yeah, Brisbane, St Kilda aren't too bad. Essendon can give up points whenever they feel like it. Hawthorn a bit tougher. It's probably one I still wouldn't jump on, looking at that run. But I get he is cheaper and, yeah, can provide some very decent scores if he gets going, no matter the matchup. I gotta stop doing that. I should just delete this. Besides that, I don't know why Saligo still says he's owned. I thought I changed that, but obviously not. He has been very putrid in this game. Dowling did okay. Besides that, no one else really to mention. Zach Taylor did debut for Adelaide, but was a sub. Came on pretty late. Only had the 22% time on ground and only had 8 disposals. So definitely one we're avoiding for a little while longer. Moving on to GWS, we had Lockie Whitfield with that 160, absolutely massive. Just everything that we sort of expected from him in this first, like he was in the first half of the season. Just marking everything off the halfback, being that main distributor, taking all the kick-ins. Let's even have a look at that. What's the team as he played for? GWS. Took a lot of kick-ins with 5 of them. Didn't play on from one of them, which is very unusual. Was that his first? No, he's done that only a couple of times here and there, so very unusual. Could be a bit of a flag that Ash is now sort of taking a few more. Maybe it was just purely based on rotations, but yeah, something to consider. But I'm not looking. I probably would be trading him in if I was someone else at this point in time. He is now quite expensive at over 900k. And there's definitely going to be some tags coming his way very, very shortly. Even if we look at his run, have a quick look. So he's got obviously Carlton this week, who's going to get caught the tag. Richmond next week after that, so maybe you could jump on after that because he does have a pretty decent run. So play it as you will, but I probably wouldn't be doing it this week unless you're happy to cop a tag. I don't mind the play, just not the smartest play, I guess. You can probably pick him up next week for a very similar price tag. And we already spoke about Green with that 106. Nothing too much there to worry about. Just needs to learn to mark and tackle a little bit more. Besides that, no one really else to talk about. Here, Canelo came back, 54, not looking at him. McMullen, anyone that still has him, put up. It's probably time to go if you can move that money. Thomas as well. Yeah, we'll move on to the next game, I think. So we saw Geelong beat Essendon by 45 points there, and the role change that we need to speak about is Tom Stewart. He had 80% CBAs in this game in the first time that we've seen him be in the midfield this year. So, bit of something that I'm highly interested in, honestly, with his price tag being very, very cheap. I don't know why I did it. As soon as I delete my team, I need to see it. So, Stewart, come on. It's not useful, Stewart. He is below 700k. Break even of 63. Hawthorn this week. If this role is going to continue, I definitely like his price range. As a defender, he can definitely score very well. So definitely one I'm looking to monitor. I wouldn't even mind if people look to jump on this week, banking on that it's going to be consistent, because I don't see why they'd change it. They played really well. They won. They're crying out for that extra midfielder when you look at terms of their numbers. Well, did I already have that up? I did have that up. So he was the number one CBA taker for the team. You had De Koning as the ruck there. Then you had Atkins and Clark as the next two, which is really unusual. You wouldn't have thought Clark, being a rookie, would be in there that much. And then Dangerfield had 50%, probably a bit of management there. So we saw Holmes drop out a lot, down to 3%, so that probably works out better for the both of them. Honestly, I think Holmes is more capable to score off the halfback, whereas Stewart really struggles back there, especially this year. So I don't mind it. It's definitely a worrying sign in terms of it could obviously switch back at any time. Just looking at how spread out their usage is, we've seen a lot of changing all the time. So it would take a brave coach to jump on, but I definitely don't mind it in terms of if you're looking to be a bit different and you're trying to maximize your cash as much as possible. Don't mind him, even if you bring him in as a 23rd player. Could be a bit of a looping option because he can definitely score. So definitely one to consider for me. Dempsey is probably another one that needs a bit of a shout out here. He has gone 3 tons in his last 4 and he's absolutely killing it. For anyone that still has him, you're just kissed on the tip there. That is ridiculous. He is just a very good fantasy player. I don't know what he does. He just works very hard off that wing and off that half forward, kicking goals and getting plenty of touches. Holmes 101. He's just super consistent. He loves getting to that 101. He always seems to be leading the game like all the way through, like in terms of scoring, and then just drops off that last little bit of the game and only just scrapes into the 100. Doesn't really get too many huge hitting scores, but he definitely is a good one. So the cat's just scratching something on the desk. Myers backed up his big score last week with a 92. So anyone he's probably a bit of a target if you're looking to jump there. Again, probably a decent F6 option. There's plenty of F6 options. It's really hard to differentiate who is the best one. I just sort of identify a nice run and cheap price, take a bit of a punt. And besides that, we had Liam Humphreys there, put up a nice 69 as probably the number one trade-in target this week in terms of rookie downgrades. He is cheap, defender mid status. What more can you ask for, really? And that probably does it for them. Anyone that jumped on a De Koning in terms of a ruck didn't really work out. 63 went up a coin, but yeah, you don't really want that in your ruck line. I don't think too many people would have done it though. On to Essendon. So we saw Caldwell go 144. He had a massive game, nearly 50 points. Over 50 points clear of his next teammate in Sam Durham. Zach Merritt's there as well, and Martin. Not really much to say much about the game. I think they sort of just got the foot to the throat in that second half. Bit of controversy with, umpire decisions, but we're not here to talk about that. So, here's what it is. In terms of fantasy, that hurt them a little bit, but Caldwell didn't mind at all. And Ridley's probably the other one I wanted to mention here. I sort of did say he was going to be a good trade-in target because he does have a pretty good run coming up, but he just crossed his name off the list with that 48, which is really disappointing. I thought he would have done really well in this game, but apparently not. So that crosses him off, and yeah, sorry for anyone that wanted to jump on him. 3 more games to go. So we saw Port Adelaide scrape through the win against Saints, killed it in probably what was the worst match I've seen in a long time. That was just shocking to watch. Sinclair put up a nice 135 to anyone that still has him. I guess you could probably consider it. I haven't really looked too much into him just because he's so inconsistent this year. But we know what he's capable of. Nearly 900k now. What's he been doing the last couple months? Couple hundreds in there, pretty consistent with low 90s. Did put up that shocking 59 when most people traded him in. So hasn't been great. So if you're still holding him, you got a bit of a reward for everything. But I'm still not considering it. Not this week anyway. Even if we look at the matchups, yeah, no. Look at that. Orange, 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 red, green, red, red. I ain't touching that for the rest of the season, unfortunately. Marshall saved his score, so there was that late in with the Tom Campbell coming in, so that was a huge flag for those that were sort of looking at putting the C on Marshall there. He put up a 119 though, so which was very nice. Scored the 3 goals too, so he played a lot more forward, only having the 10 hit outs, which is kind of ridiculous, but yeah, a bit of a concern. I wouldn't say Campbell stays back in again. Surely couldn't. Yeah, he was dropped for a reason. Just came back in after a late out, and yeah, no concern there. You'd just be thankful that Marshall got through with a decent score in the end as well. Still on the watch list in terms of if he can turn his game around. Didn't have many tackles, which is very un-Steele like. I don't know if he's still carrying a bit of an injury. It definitely feels like it because he's definitely a bigger tackle than that. Besides that, Wanganeen Malira was back for the first game after the bye, 94. Nothing you want to jump at yet, so he's off my watch list. I don't think he's going to be top 6, so not looking to jump on him. Besides that, Shawmaker did okay with a 52. Bit of concern with his job security, but we'll see how it goes there with Dougal Howard. I think expected to come back this week. Yeah, one to watch there. So if you don't have him, maybe don't look to trade him in. On to Port Adelaide, we saw Horn Francis with a nice 112. He could be a fantasy relevant player at some point in his career. I just don't know if he's quite there just yet. Definitely one you're not looking to jump on, especially as a pure midfielder. Rosie, for a lot of people that traded him, put up 95, so you're probably okay with that. Looked pretty good in the first half. Again, probably just was a little bit quieter in the third for some reason, just didn't have many points. So to get to a 95, you're pretty happy. He went up in coin, and is still a great trading target in my view. Even if you look at the run, I think we identified this last week, but it is okay. Port Adelaide, so Western Bulldogs this week. Then he goes on a run of Gold Coast, Richmond, Carlton, and then Melbourne after the harder matchup. So I still think it's a really good one to jump on if you can, especially at the price. Butters, 92, through a tag. You take that every day of the week. Lockie Evans did pretty well as well with the 59. He's still a great trading target if you've got a bit more money to spend. He is nearly up to 300k though, so one not super keen on, like in terms of paying up for. You really want to try and maximize your coin this time of year, but if you got that free coin to jump on him and get the cash generation, you're happy. Besides that, the debutant in this guy, Will, I think his first name is. I'm not a good trump. I'm terrible at names, if you guys can tell. Yeah, put up a 25, so one to watch if he's going to hold his spot. Moving on to Richmond and Carlton. Fuck, this feels like it's taking forever. Too many games. So many games. Carlton got the win by 61 points there, so they're happy with that. not really too many people to mention in this game. Taranto put up a 92. Bit of a flag. Hopper's back in the side, and he just loves to take points off of Taranto. So if you jumped on that, it's a bit of a bummer, but I still think he should be okay for the remainder of the season. Tougher run, which we identified previously, but yeah, he's still cheaper, so don't mind it. Baker put up a 59. Stinker, anyone still held him through the buys. Blight as a rookie, a debutant, put up a 42, so I don't mind him as a trade-in target as well. Bit lower down the list because I think we have a lot of defenders already, so you probably already have a Shawmakers and Evans. If you picked up a Whitfield last week as well, not a Wakefield, and a few others, if you have a Pink or something like that lying around, or a Reed, you can't really afford too many more defenders, so I personally can't fit him in. I would love to because I have the coin for him, but yeah, I can't at this point in time. But onto Carlton. Newman put up a massive 143. And yeah, this is what we sort of expect from him. He loves to go big in this back half of the year. I don't know why, but he just absolutely goes massive. So looking at his run, he's got DWS this week. So not a great run until sort of later on. Honestly, probably one I'm still not super convinced on. He's very up and down in terms of his role. So, but if you're keen, jump on. I can't see why you'd be too bad. He's very unique as well. What's his ownership? Is under 900k as well. 3%, very very unique. So definitely could bump you up there. Been pretty good in the last month or so, averaging over 100. Even before that, it was averaging pretty well. Shows some ceiling, just needs to have a bit more consistency to get to those 3 figures I would like. Sammy Walsh, kicked 2 goals, 26 disposals, 10 marks, 10 tackles, 5 marks, sorry. 132 points, happy with that. Cripps put up another 40 disposal game, 2 in a row with a 129. Take a brave coach to go there as well. I couldn't do it. He gets way too much attention and loves to go into the ruck too much. But he's actually had a very underrated year in terms of what he's been able to produce. Cripps. He's still quite lowly priced at 841k. Averaging nearly 100, which is pretty good. Only gone up to 43k for the season, but his scores have not reflected that. He's been pretty much a 90 guy all the way through the season. Dropped a few low 60s, but only a couple times. So anyone that jumped on him early would be pretty happy, I would say. But don't think there's anyone else to really talk about here. I know some people are talking about a Hollins. He's gone probably a couple 90s in a row. If we look at that, again, could be a decent F6 option. I couldn't do it. We've seen it in the past where he just drops an absolute stinker with 40s. But I guess most of those F6 options could definitely do that. We're also going to remind ourselves either against very easy matchups in the Cats and Richardson. So even the Bombers in their day can give up plenty of points. So I'm probably not looking there. But he is cheap, so if you're brave. On to the last game, which there won't be too much relevant here, but we did see a Duggan go pretty massive with 132. I don't mind him as an option. I did sort of flag a few weeks ago that he does come up on a very good run post his bye, so he's 2 weeks into that now. He put up an 86 last week and a 132 this week. A couple weeks prior to that, put up a 66. But besides that, he was going pretty consistent with being about a 100 guy prior to that. So it was really just one game, which is unusual. Looking at his run, if I bring that back up, designated kickouts, which he isn't quite designated kickout, but he's still quite close to that. Melbourne this week, so a really good matchup. Brisbane tougher one, St Kilda and Fremantle. So 3 very good matchups in the next 4. So you probably could jump on for the next, at least next month or so. I wouldn't mind that. Very unique in terms that he is only 4% owned. Price is probably about right. Could definitely match it with the best for the remainder of the season. Very much reminds me of a Luke Ryan, just absolutely soaking up all the marks back there. Just looking at the marking tally, he loves to get very close to those double digits all the time. High kick to handball ratio, Does take a few tackles as well. Doesn't take as many kick-ins as I would like. If he improved his kick-ins a little bit, I would have to be all on him, like Luke Ryan. But McGovern takes all the kick-ins mainly, so that's the only disappointing in terms of could bump him up those extra 10 points or so. But I don't mind jumping on him. If I was in a position where I had a Hayden Young, I'd probably even jumped onto him or a Newman. I'd probably prefer going to a Duggan just to be with the better run. Price is very similar. I think Duggan's actually a little bit cheaper. I think 60k cheaper. So I'd personally probably go there instead of a Newman. Especially, it probably just helps as well that the Eagles mainly have the ball in the back half, just with them obviously not performing as well, whereas the Colton are obviously a very high team. They're second on the ladder at the moment and they're absolutely flying, so the ball doesn't spend as much time in the back half. They have to kick it backwards to him to actually get disposals, where it sort of just falls in Duggan's lap half the time. He takes the interceptions and they chip it around a fair bit in the back there just to cool off a little bit because they're just under siege the entire time. So yeah, I personally would go Duggan if you're in that position. There's no one else really to speak about in that West Coast side. We did see the return of Harley Reid with a 67, but he's not super fantasy relevant. If anyone has him, you'd be okay with that. And on to Hawthorn, the last team. Dillamore put up a nice 27. 127, I hope I said that. 29 disposals, 12 marks, 1 tackle. 2 goals. He just does this every so often. Loves to get plenty of disposals. Loves working really hard on that half-forward wing. Just gets plenty of marks out there when the opposition isn't hanging off of him. So, again, another great F6 option. So, plenty to choose from there. Sicily had a bit of a concern with his shoulder. Popped out, apparently. So, bit of a watch there. No one's really looking at him, I would have thought. He's been returning into some form, but again, probably not close enough to top 6 in my view. And Mulday, probably a bit under what you sort of expected, a 90, but again, I wouldn't jump off just yet. He has, who does he have this week? He has the Cats this week. Really easiest matchup for midfielders, so hold on there, one more week, then you can probably look to trade him out next week. Besides that, I think that sort of does us for the remainder of the games. I think I'll sign off really quickly here, but a few more things we'll go through. My early trades, so I'll probably be jumping off a Freya and another rookie like who was I going to trade out? I think it was going to be Garcia. I think he's the most expensive rookie I have. He's a red dot still, so maybe it was a McRae. It was going to be Garcia or McRae. Both are very exact same coin. Both red dots at this point in time. I think McRae actually has a higher break even, so I could jump off him earlier. And I was pretty much going to just go to a Rosie and a basement rookie because that's all I can get to, unfortunately. I only have about 211k or something like that, so not a lot of coin to jump onto someone. But then I'll still have one rookie to field this week, so I'll loop between a couple of different options. Talk a little bit more about that in my preview video. But in terms of what are people looking at doing this week in terms of the trade, so I'd expect, Humphreys is number 1 rookie target jumping on. Caldwell, people jumping on there. Wakefield, good options. Rosie, anyone that didn't jump on him. Dunkley is still a great target. People jumping on Rankin. People are still hopeful that Kobe comes back the 3rd week in a row. Can he do it? Can he come back this week? I've obviously spoken heavily about him. He's still going to be a great trade-in when you can get to him, if he ever plays. Evans, Whitfield, again, not 100% sure on that one. Zorko, people jumping on Stewart, just under a K so far, jumping on him. It's only Monday night, so plenty to develop there, but I don't mind that. In terms of my trade, like if I was up in the top there and I had to sort of jump on, do luxury trades. Like I said, I'd probably either look to jump off a Young, go to one of those unique guys in a Newman or a Duggan, or I'd be trying to upgrade your midfield a little bit, going to a Sarong. I really like their run coming up. I probably only trust Sarong in terms of their midfield there. Richmond this week, very nice matchup. Hawthorn the week after, then Melbourne, West Coast, Essendon, Geelong. So very, very nice matchups there. Besides that, then I'd look at a Trelaw even the week after that. That's sort of my plan. Yeah, I'm still really struggling to get my side complete. So I'm very not in this mindset that I'm luxury trading. I would love to be, but I'm just not at this point in time. But hopefully I can help you guys out a little bit there. Yeah, everyone's still people trading back in Oliver. I wouldn't be doing that, but sure. Very good trades by the looks of it. Everyone's sort of jumping on some luxury trades there and some rookies, so that's very good. In terms of trade outs, people jumping off Jai Clark. What did he put up? A 31. Yeah, he's done with his price. Made up to 400k. Congrats to him. It only took, 13 games, but he got there. People were jumping off a Fisher with that injury concern. Hayden Young, Nep can go. Harvey Harrison can go as well. What is he up to? Nearly 400k as well. People jumping off Freya, like myself. People already jumping off Simpkin. Okay, I probably wouldn't be with his role, but that's up to you. Yeah, generally looks like everyone's sort of doing the right thing. Not really too much else to speak about in terms of this week, I wouldn't have thought. Again, luxury season, you're just trying to upgrade your best player, your worst player to the next best you can get to. Target those matchups. Again, just continue to get to those best 22. Don't just be sidewaysing players too much. And if I can give any advice, don't play with the ruck line too much. Just be happy with what you got, because at the end of the day, they can all put up some very high scores in their line. So, but I think that'll sort of do it for me this week. I don't think I need to talk about anything else. But yeah, I guess I'll leave you guys to it. Drop your questions in the comment section. Again, I'll be answering them on my Wednesday night or Thursday morning video. Yeah, I'll answer your comments there. Leave a like, subscribe, all those things. Yeah, getting late on season now, so I'm sure you guys all know the deal. But yeah, have a great weekend. Have a great week. Make sure you get your trades in, and make sure you get some plans and stay up with the news, because there may be something to watch there. So yeah, I'll stop blambling. Have a good weekend. I'll catch you guys later. Cheers. Bye.